Great adventures usually have a humble beginning, like this one. A lone man pushing his boat into a lake and rowing calmly toward death or immortality. With no fanfare, no ballyhoo, no press agent, a brave man sets out to match his strength and skill against the fury of the world's most dangerous long river. He's Buzz Holmstrom, a filling station employee of Coquille, Oregon, and this is no fly-by-night expedition. This is rapid. He also knows that shooting these is merely warming up for the big ones ahead. His boat weighs 1/4 of a ton. He made it himself out of Port Orford cedar, light and watertight for the rapids, but too heavy to carry around the rough spots. Buzz knew that when he made it. He planned the trip for months, studied every map, and even practiced shooting the whitewater, the formidable salmon and rogue rivers in preparation for his big try here. Over 1,000 rapids to conquer in the 1,100 miles before him. 1,000 furies that have brought death and destruction to every lone voyager before Buzz. No one man has ever conquered them before, but faith in his sturdy boat and a hero's heart bring him safely through the rapids of the Green River to the first of the only 4 stops Buzz has planned for the whole journey. He calls the trip so far the breaking in period. For many before him, it was the breaking up period. But what's this? Cold water geyser. Many tourists have traveled to see it, but by a far different route. A geyser for a shower. How appropriate for the man who has just outfought Red Canyon, Ashley Falls, Lador Canyon, Disaster Falls, and Hell's Half Mile. And how refreshing to tired and aching muscles. Shower's over. Well, someone must have turned it off, Buzz, or maybe Mother Nature didn't pay her water rent. Cataract Canyon is where the Colorado joins the Green River. And from here on, it's impossible to turn back. There's only one direction, ahead, unless one of these rocks ends his journey. The volume of water from the 2 rivers becomes an irresistible force between the more narrow canyon walls. The speed becomes terrific. The boat is almost unmanageable. Rocks rear up from nowhere. His life depends upon instant judgment and iron muscles. He's an explorer now. No previous records to guide him, and every foot of the way uncharted, unknown. Hour after hour, day after day, the uneven fight between river and man rages on. No let-up, no time out, where a mental lapse of a moment brought destruction to all lone voyagers who went before him. And so Buzz outrode Cataract Canyon into Glen Canyon, where 165 miles of peaceful water gave him and his boat a sightseeing rest before facing the greatest hazard of the trip, Marble Gorge and Grand Canyon. Clay swallow nests that look like Indian pottery intrigue his tired brain. Here he feels like a tourist. His past escape from 1,000 deaths seems unreal as he tries to figure out the ancient Indian symbols cut in the faces of the rock. Probably the legend of other heroes like Buzz, whose deeds have made Indian history. The vacationist from a gasoline pump sees wonders here, where nature has turned sculpture on a gigantic scale. The world's largest natural bridge. Wind and erosion, Buzz figures. He explores an ancient home of a cliff dweller, another memento of those who fought against countless odds to exist. Too confining, Buzz decides. And a young mule deer nearby agrees with him, so the 2 lovers of the great outdoors come to an instant understanding and friendship. Buzz takes the opportunity in this peaceful interlude to patch up his rock-damaged partner. For Marble Canyon is their next challenge, where the rapids are only second in ferocity to the Grand Canyon itself. Both man and river have rested up for the next round of their battle, and the man, at least, is not underestimating the strength of his opponent. 400 miles to go. The history of those 400 miles is written in the bleached bones that line the narrow banks of the river. Marble Gorge again wakens all the skill of this whitewater mariner, missing rocks by miracles, straining every nerve to find a theoretical channel. This was nearly the end of his epic journey. Rounding a bend, the water drove him straight for the big stone. Pull, Buzz, pull! A few inches less and the world would have added Buzz Holmstrom to the long list of the river's victims. And this is only the preliminary to Grand Canyon. Buzz wonders subconsciously as the terrific force almost pulls his arms from their sockets if anything could be worse. He wonders sometimes as the canyon walls flash by how fast he was traveling. There's no way to tell accurately, but the weight of man and boat on a river that drops 5,000 feet to 1,100 miles gives an idea. His face is now showing the strain of his terrific ordeal. Only an indomitable spirit such as his could go on. The history of the river's tragedies prove in most cases that men crack up before their boats. But this time the river loses. Buzz and his boat, that by now he has a reverent love for, ride out of the canyon as they entered it. But he discovers a tragedy, a crack-up and the death of another who started a month before it. He decides to rest up before tackling Grand Canyon, that watery graveyard of many who went before. And at the top of the hill he finds a gruesome relic of another unsuccessful expedition. A sun-bleached skeleton of one who braved the river years ago and lost. Who was he, and how long ago did he start out with hope and faith like Buzz did? There it is, wrecked July 22nd, 1891. Not an encouraging picture for a man who faces only one way out. For there is only one way out now, through the Grand Canyon. Almost 300 miles of the world's roughest river, 300 miles of perpendicular walls rising hundreds of feet on both sides with no passage between them and no way to climb them, even if the pounding rapids allowed you to reach the rocks on the edge. So for once, Buzz admitted fear as he drew nearer to the rough going ahead. Why should the river spare him? How was he different than those brave men who tried before him and failed? But as the water grew rougher, his spirits rose. Didn't he have the finest boat in the world? The boat he cut himself in the cedar forest? Hadn't it brought him safely through so far where others had gone down? This is a boat and this is a man. Try and stop us from getting through. Water filled the cockpit. Waves tried to tear him out of his boat, but on and on they tore through the mad river like indestructible spirits. The river tried every trick it knew, charged them madly toward the canyon walls, but Buzz was now a superman with superhuman strength. He defied the river to do its worst. He was master. He was stronger than the river, and his boat was stronger than both. Out of shadows into sunlight, a weird, fantastic battle in a world apart. Historic pictures of the victory of one man against one of nature's greatest forces. Yes, Buzz Holmstrom, the Coquille, Oregon service station employee, rode into Lake Mead at Boulder Dam after successfully navigating the most treacherous river in the world, the only one ever to do it alone. Before he started, Buzz figured he'd sell his boat after the trip to help pay expenses. But not now. Not after what they went through together, conquering the Colorado.